Hello and welcome to digi8.com.
In this video, we are going to cover the topic on politeness. Now let's start with a definition of politeness. The pragmatic use of etiquettes or good manners so other people are not offended is known as politeness. Since politeness is culturally defined, the notion of being polite in a culture can be uncommon or offensive in another. Politeness aims to avoid partaking in offensive conduct. This is so that people can lighten up around each other and be comfortable without getting upset. However, sometimes the standards of politeness that are defined culturally are exploited. In professional or social environments, making positive first impressions becomes easier through politeness. Compared to people with inappropriate manners, the probability of people talking courteously to others leaving a positive impression is higher. Moving on to the types of politeness. Broadly two types, negative politeness and positive politeness. Let's look at negative politeness. It entails minimizing the undermining tone of request and respecting an individual's right to act the way they want, that is deference. Example, if it is not too much trouble or if you do not mind are used. On the other hand, positive politeness attempts to institute a good relationship between people in that scenario. It recognizes their desire to be understood and admired. Positive politeness is preferred over negative politeness by some cultures, hence proving the cultural boundaries of politeness. Moving on to politeness examples. First, engage in small talk. Asking people about their and their family's health can be a way to be polite to people. Next, being courteous. One must use words like thank you, please and sorry in appropriate situations. Next, showing elders respect. One must take into account the opinions of their elders. Next, commend the accomplishment of others. One will receive appreciation for their accomplishments if the individual commends other people's success as well. Next, refrain from cursing and using impolite language. Obscene language must be avoided, and so much creating a scene when a person is offended or infuriated. Next, consider the feelings of others. Individuals must refrain from partaking in actions or saying words that offend the individual themselves. Moving on to politeness guidelines or how to be polite. First, one must say hello to others. Ensure you're correctly greeting people, making eye contact, exchanging hugs and handshakes wherever necessary and smiling. However, most importantly, saying hello to them, especially if they are someone a person meets daily or individual's co-workers, is crucial. Next, remember aspects and information. Remembering certain things like the name of spouses, important events in the past, or the ones that may be upcoming birthdays, etc., and talking about them appropriately can be considered polite. Being consistently mindful of challenging events in the life of other people or their problems is also considered to be polite. Next, consider cultural differences. It is essential to use common sense and practice highly appropriate behavior. Next, be friendly. One must be friendly irrespective of how the other person's day goes. Next, one must commend other people for their achievements. Be genuine while doing so. Emotions of jealousy or anger make it difficult for praises to sound genuine, which they must. Next, one must be helpful and polite to their co-workers and bosses alike. The roles, responsibilities and positions of other people must be respected and recognized. Next, attentive listening must be practiced. Mid-conversations, distractions and interruptions must be avoided. Complicated vocab and jargons must be avoided. Complicated distractions or ideas must be explained thoroughly. However, on the other hand, one must try not to come off as arrogant. Next, golden words. Using thank you to show gratitude for people's contribution or input and using please while requesting something is considered to be polite. So is using no, thank you or yes please on being offered something. Next, correct language usage. The language used by a person must show respect for other people's political perspective, age, gender, religion, race, or other factors that may be challenging or controversial. Avoid making defamatory or possible provocative remarks. And finally, judicious usage of humor. Humor must be used carefully with well-established boundaries in different circumstances with respect to language. Also, the humor being used must not be offensive to other people. Moving on to the final example of politeness post-COVID. According to Lizzie Post, a renowned American author, in the course of social transition that is confusing, there are rules for politeness. The notion of social manners before the pandemic has completely been defeated. Despite the instability of the idea of etiquettes, its principles must be ageless. There is sudden neglect of hugs and handshakes and amplification of personal space in public measuring up to 6 feet. In addition to that, the in-depth discussion of the guest-lit social events that have happened and the behavior that could be potentially risky. Up until the pandemic, this behavior was considered offensive, but recently it has started to seem polite. According to Lizzie, the following 3 ways that take into account ageless principles can help steer them through this period of transition are: first, being compassionate. People must be compassionate towards each other as they start socializing again. As people start relaxing again, one must be compassionate towards people who are unable to socialize again or people who have not been or cannot be vaccinated yet. Next, ask about confusing boundaries. It was necessary to ask about safety precautions and comfort levels while attempting to socially distance each other during events at the beginning of the pandemic. According to Lizzie, it is still considered proper etiquette to ask about such things as people re-engage socially. Directly asking without hesitation whether a person can hug the other or if another person is willing to hang out indoors without mask is considered polite. Asking about other people's vaccination status is also allowed. And finally, not be judgmental. Informing others about an individual's vaccination status is acceptable. It cannot be considered rude since it is a matter of safety and is mandatory while entering restaurants, wedding venues, and churches in various states. However, if a person inquires about other people's vaccination status, they must review their reason for wanting to know. And finally, not being judgmental can help in carrying out such conversations politely. Adjusting one's behavior as per another person's status is considered to be polite. Please note, Lizzie Post is a co-president of Emily Post Institute and a co-host of the American Etiquette podcast. She has authored and co-authored multiple books on etiquette, including the upcoming Emily's Post Etiquette 20th edition. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on politeness. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video.
Thank you and see you in the next video.